Welcome to Revenue Rehab, your one-stop destination for collective solutions to the biggest challenges faced by marketing leaders today. Now head on over to the couch, make yourself comfortable, and get ready to change the way you approach revenue. Leading your recovery is modern marketer, author, speaker, and Chief Operating Officer at Tegrita, Brandi Starr.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Revenue Rehab. I am your host, Brandi Starr, and we have another amazing episode for you today. I am joined by Neil Rogers. Neil has built a successful career in sales and marketing that spans almost 40 years in a variety of industries, ranging from pharmaceuticals to military defense contractors. But before the multiple sales awards and accolades, Rogers spent 10 years slinging beers behind the bar at some of the top establishments in and around Boston. The lessons learned during his cocktail years have provided him with the skills needed to excel in sales and marketing. And now he's sharing the knowledge gleaned from long nights on sticky floors and slinging shots that have propelled Rogers to be of the upper echelon of salesmanship. Welcome to Revenue Rehab, Neil. Your session begins now.
Brandi, so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, I am excited to have you here and to learn more about your career and the lessons you've learned. But before we jump into that, I like to break the ice with a little woo-saw moment that I call buzzword banishment. So, what buzzword would you like to get rid of forever?
You know, it's a toss-up. I got two in my head. I may just blurt them both out if that's okay. One's a little bit of a phrase, one's a small, short phrase, and one's a word. First is diving in.
Okay.
Then I don't get why everything's super. I'm super excited. I'm super this. I'm super that. You can just be excited. You don't need to be super excited.
That is so I can say I won't use diving in, but I know that I am someone who overuses super and awesome. Those are my two words because I know I have such a big personality. So I'm usually not just excited. I am super excited. So I will try really
hard.
The
basic fundamental is that you're super excited.
I love it. Yeah, those are two that are definitely overused in all settings, not even just in the corporate world.
And I can't say I'm offended by them at all. I mean, it's just kind of like, okay, enough. I got you. All right. How about you come up with something else?
I love it. I'm going to try to find another word instead of super. I'm going to be thinking about that.
It's not just the word super. It's how it's attached to the next word. I'm super happy to be super involved with your super company. But something can be just super, and it can be awesome. I am from Boston, by the way. Everything's awesome over here, man.
Okay, well, at least you can appreciate my awesome. I'm not from Boston.
I use awesome all the time. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Now that we have gotten that off our chest, I am super excited, just being funny, to have you here today as a part of our My Journey series. So for those who are listening who are not familiar with the My Journey series, I find it really intriguing, the journey that different people have taken throughout their careers, where the path has not necessarily been what people would describe as the norm. And so as a part of my journey, I ask people that I find interesting to join me here on the couch to talk about their career progression and some of the lessons learned. And so, Neil, you are one of those people who I am very intrigued by your journey. And so I'm happy to have you here.
Love it. I'm super excited. We're going to do this all day. You know that.
Yes. And I believe in setting intentions. It gives us focus. It gives us purpose. And most important, it gives our audience an understanding of what they should expect from our discussion. And so what are your best hopes for our talk? What would you like for people to take away from hearing about your career journey?
Well, I think with all of the bombardment we have from 24/7 media, social media, all the hype on technology, AI, and the like, what's it going to do to us? How are we ever going to get, is this going to take my job? Is this going to do that? And then I've got a speech I give. It's called "Tech is No Threat to Me." Right? Move along, control what you can control. Use your fundamentals, your basics, the stuff that just moves you along incrementally, so you can control your little journey. So you can't worry about what AI is going to do. Embrace it. Find out what it's about. Try it. See how it works for you and in your business. I found in the last 2 weeks, it's going to do a lot for my business. So
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's go back to the bar where it all started. And so I'd love to hear. I mean, I know that bartending is a very common sort of first job when folks are, in their early 20s. So tell me about your start. Was it a desire to be a bartender? Was it kind of a thing to do to make money at the moment? Like, where did your journey begin?
Well, it started out where I was really going nowhere coming out of high school. I was 17 years old. God bless my mother and father. They were wonderful people, but it wasn't like it is today where we've got our kids' lives mapped out from DNA right up until whatever. I had challenges in school, challenges with attitude, challenges with, not being coachable, that type of thing. So I had all the answers basically, and I had none, right? In retrospect. And so I set out on my journey, and I said, "So what do I literally went to my mother in May of my senior year and said, is there something I should be doing next year?" I mean, literally, there was no plan, zero. So I stumbled through community college. You now met the first person in your life that has ever flunked out of 2 community colleges.
Goodness.
And in this, and one was just kind of, I've got no explanation for it. I didn't fail. I just stopped going. It's just kind of like there was just a strange place to be. And I've got no excuse for it, no answer for it. It just happens where I was at the time. And so, but I always stayed involved in some way, shape, or form in the hospitality business. At that time, I was working in the kitchen, doing, making sandwiches, cooking breakfast. Then we got out front a little bit, busboying, and then I wound up behind the bar as a barback. And so now I'm 18 at this juncture, probably halfway through, probably around a year out of high school, and started barbacking. So I'm watching the guys pour the drinks. I'm like, going, that looks kind of cool. I think I'd like to do that. That was the only reason why I wanted to be a bartender at that time, is that it looked cool, right? I had no career path thought. There's a way to make money. It was just, that was cool. So I went and I decided, so my friend and I that worked in the same place, we both kind of started doing private parties. So we got some chops down on how to pour, and we knew basically what the basic, and the drinks back then are not as crazy as they are today. Yeah, we made old fashions. I at 10 years behind the bar, I think I made 10, right?
Mm.
Now it's a staple item, and they have different flavors in it, and different flavors of the bourbons and the whiskeys and all that. So anyways, so after that, I decided to set out my sights and get a bar job. So now again, self-esteem being low, not really now. So I'm starting to realize, maybe I don't have all the answers. Right. And so now I'm feeling out, how do I get out of this? How do I move along? How do I make incremental changes? Because I know I need to do something. So I went down, and I knew in this bar called the Full Sail in Whitehorse Beach, part of Plymouth, Massachusetts, America's hometown. And I went in and I asked this guy who I knew, family friend, and we became very good friends. He's actually acknowledged in the book. I said, "Hey, I'd like a bar job." Well, the place was small and there was only 3, and they were all taken up. He says, "Well, I'll give you 5 nights on the door." All right. So I'm back to checking IDs, crowd control, but emptying trash, bringing beer up. So now I'm doing barback stuff again. So the day bartender leaves, and he says, "Do you want the day job?" I said, "Sure, I'll take it." So I took it. And my first drink I poured was a Seabreeze, which it's not as big today as it was back then. That's vodka, grapefruit, and cranberry with a lime. Poured the drink as I was told to. Put it in front of the woman. She took a sip out of it. She goes, "Hey, that's pretty good." And I went, maybe I have something here. And I enjoyed that immediate feedback from serving someone. I solved her little problem. It was, I'm here to have a drink. I would like this drink. I'd like it, and I'd like it to be good. And here it is. It's good. Because she doesn't say that. It's understood. So I just started working that and became very adept at it and recognized that, oh my goodness, I could be good at something. It's really where I was in my life. It was like, I didn't know where I would go, what I was going to do. And then I kind of stuck it out for a bit. I did that for a bit. And I decided that I really needed to do more. And so most people would tell me, and I would express, desire to move on and do something different. They say, Neil, with your interpersonal skills, you'd be good in sales. I went, okay. So I started talking to people I knew in sales and, manufacturers, reps and reps in other businesses. And, of course, everybody that walks in the bar, they like you. They want to be your friend. You're the bartender. They want to be served. Right. So really developed a lot of nice relationships in that fashion and decided that was the way I want to go. But I still needed a degree. So I got to solve that problem. So, but now the difference between the first couple of times, as I described, the flunking out, I really didn't have a passion for what I was doing. I had no root. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't understand. Today I think, I think under different circumstances, I would have stuck it up. Just get the degree. Just stay there. Just make it happen, right? But no, I had to move on and whatever. So, but now I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I went back to school and started to develop what I would call my process that kept going throughout my life, my sales life. And that was just a little program, I guess we call it in today's parlance, algorithm, right? And it's a simple one. The teachers, they like you to show up.
Mm-hmm.
They like you to actively listen, take notes, do your work on time, take the extra hours. If you need help, ask for it, do the extra credit, all these things. And I did all that. And it's interesting. Kind of sounds like sales, doesn't it?
Yes, very similar.
Right? So it's like, show up, be nice, be well presented, be organized, be on time, right? Be well dressed. So that's how I kind of started my little thing. And I became a very good student. I overcame my learning challenges on my own, which is really what happened. And to this day, I've got to go through the same systems. And I mean, when I go to read a book, I got to get the book, I got to get the audiobook, and I have to take notes. Then I've got a fighting chance of absorbing it. So even to this day in my life. So it set me up to understand the way I learned. And I use that to this day. So that's kind of where it all started. And that's what then the actual, when I recognized that the stuff that I had done as a bartender, was what propelled my sales career, really came from in a night. I live in a golf community here in Nashua, New Hampshire. And my daughter was being honored right up the clubhouse up the street as one of the local chambers. The local chamber had her in as being, one of the people to watch under 30, the chamber, they got an award for everything. The guy who brought Five Guys burgers to New Hampshire was the keynote speaker. Loved him. Right up my alley. Bare bones speaker, straight to the point, no big words, just from the heart. And he talked about, did you ever work in hospitality, Brandi?
A little bit.
So there's this thing, if you ever served or whatnot, there's this thing called pre-meal. And pre-meal is kind of where everybody gets in and we talk about what's 86, which in restaurant parlance is what's out, what the specials are, what we did last year, and what we hope for tonight, and then a little bit of a rah-rah speech. So his rah-rah speech went something like this. We're not in the burger business. We're not in the fry business. We're not in the soda business. We're not in the shake business. We're in the hospitality business. I looked at my wife, who, for point of reference, I met when I was a bartender at Tia's in Boston. She was a food waitress. I looked at her and I said, I've never left the bar business. I've been bartending on the road for 30 plus years. That's when it just hit me. And then through COVID, looking for something, when you're a salesperson and you're used to being with people and you're a people person, I mean, I know it was tough on everybody, but if you, it was rough. And when I was looking for things to do to make myself happy and be productive, and our business was fine. We were fine, but it was just like, still you're stuck in your house. And how do I? So I started. I started reaching out to people, and to this day I still do. Think of somebody in need, send them a text, whatever it may be. But at that juncture, it was just like, who hadn't I talked to in a while? And invariably, I get a phone call back because everybody was feeling the same way. Hey Neil, what's going on? And we talked about, here's what I'm doing. Yeah. And so this guy called me back, a guy by the name of Terry McMahon, and Terry was a wildly successful Mass Mutual general agent, making millions of dollars. Well, his success took him to behaviors where he needed life-saving liver transplant. He got it. I talked to him 18 months afterwards, and it was like this guy completely changed his life. And I'm talking about, Terry, I've written a book, I've done this. I said, dude, you're my hero. Unbelievable. How did you do all? You sound like Bill Murray from Groundhog Day. Right? When all of a sudden Bill Murray's a jazz pianist because every day he gets to practice and he knows it. Yeah, right. It's like, geez, T, you're like, so anyway, so he encouraged me to do it. And I was like, what do I got to say, really? And so I started examining it, and I just written we just had a birthday party for one of the people that we worked with at the Full Sail, which was the first bar I mentioned. And it was really, being a commuter student, the people that I know from those years, that's my fraternity.
Right.
Those are the people, I didn't live on campus. I didn't, it's like, I basically lived at home until I was way too late. And so, so afterwards I was so emotional about it. I wrote a little ditty on it, a little short story. Right. So I had that piece. And then I had a piece I had written again from that same general area of the world, White Horse Beach and Plymouth. I had written a little piece about growing up there. So I had that piece. And then I had done some research after the aforementioned event at the chamber and the hospitality light bulb. I had done some research on how other businesses use hospitality in their business to engage their customers better. So I had that thing done. Now I just needed the filler part. So I started interviewing. People that I worked with, people that own the places I used to work at, other people that became successful in business or in sales, but how they felt as though that their groundwork was really in working with the public and in the restaurant business. And by the way, I think it's the same thing if you've worked retail. If you've had to solve a problem with the general public, you're a value to a and I've got a great story on that if we've got time, but you're a value to an employer. So that's really kind of, and so that's how we got the tips, just things, or what are important, what is the important. So I took it I thought about it from the time somebody walks into the establishment, the importance of a proper greeting. How do you develop a relationship with a person that you're going to be with for maybe a half hour to 2 hours?
Right.
You got to be quick, and you got to be attentive. You got to be, you got to use some simple things to you put the cocktail napkin now. You look at them, you acknowledge them. Sounds like we are not splitting the atom here, but it's almost like and it's almost like breathing, Brandi. But I don't know what your workout schedule is. But have you ever done yoga?
Yeah.
Okay. What is yoga?
Yeah, it's stretching and breathing.
Breath to movement, right? And what do they remind you throughout the whole class? Breathe. You think that would just be innate? Well, it is, but to breathe properly, to do it well, to do it functionally, 4 in, 8 out, right? So all those things. So these are the types of things I equate. So I take breath, the little things, minor details, random acts of kindness, all those simple gestures that propel happiness, achievement, and success. Right. So so it's these little things that in the end you go, nobody remembers. Yeah, sure, you might remember the big thing, but you know how they treated you? You remember how you were treated, how you walked away and you said, they were really nice to me. Yeah, we got a nice meal. Oh, the service, the guys who did the roof were great, but boy, they took time to say hello and greet me when they saw me in the morning, or whatever those little things may be. But I mean, there's a guy, I'm sure you've heard of Jim Rohn.
Mm-hmm.
So Jim Rohn has a little take on success that I really love. And he said, success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying the basic fundamentals, also known as, everybody, the little things.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like it's all the little things that we've done in our business that has made us who we are, that we got us the sales awards, that got us the Hall of Fame award, that got us all those things. We're friends with our clients. We've had clients for 27 years. We've only been in business 27 years, but I'm still friendly with old people that I worked with, customers I had years ago, because we just treated them good.
And so I'd like to draw some parallels between the experiences that you've had, because I know, we kind of skipped over some of your experience in sales, but I know that you've done a lot of that and been successful. Our audience is primarily those that are leading revenue. So they are leading marketing, leading sales. They have some of those people who are like you coming, still super green and getting their careers started, coming into their teams. And so I'd really like to just shift ever so slightly and speak to those people that are, they are at the pinnacle in their career. For some people, highest level that they're ever going to go. What advice or insights can you share with them that you feel will be impactful in their journey at this stage?
Oh, I don't think it's ever too late, or the most successful people in the world, to remember your manners. I'm sorry. I'm gonna sound like the old man yelling, "Get off my lawn," but I can't. I really am a huge proponent of that. I want people to be, when they're talking about, when the new people come in, or even the current people, if you're looking to get a new client, everybody's still looking to prospect, because you never know what's going to happen. Don't, my suggestion is, don't rely exclusively on digital, because look at how many emails you get. Just be logical about it. I mean, I'm getting these emails from people and these LinkedIn things that just are mind-numbing. I go and I look at them, and my curiosity goes up. That's kind of how I get on a call with them every once in a while. I just go, does this really work? I really just can't believe it. I'm like going, my goodness. Okay, I'm on the phone with you, but you have not told me anything about what you want to talk about. You gave me no advance warning, but I'm just curious. I never take them further. I never do anything with them. And it's this running you down this path, running this down the funnel, as they call it, with this ridiculously high price tag. And you go, if you told me anything remotely of this 2 hours ago, I wouldn't be looking for those 2 hours when I meet my maker. It's just like it's so I say it's never too late, or never to re-examine, how you're operating, how you're treating your clients. Are you operating with integrity, with fairness? I'll give you this is inspired by Napoleon Hill, but it's it's my take on it. And this is my new little credo, if I might share it with your audience. So in my journey, I've come to understand that true success, lasting success, cannot be found on anything less than honesty and fairness, integrity. I commit to entering into only those ventures that bring benefit to everyone involved. Success will come my way by drawing towards me the energies I need and the collaboration of others. So I'm also looking for their support. But the reason why I can do that, I will inspire them to join and support my endeavors through my own dedication to serve them. That's my new little credo. That it's been around for a while, but I just redid it 2 weeks ago. And so I think you can never, because we can get full of ourselves as tops of the trees, top rank people, and forget that it was the little things that got you there. So re-examine the little things. I think. I mean, we do it all the time. I do it all the time. And one of the real reasons I do this, that I want to have conversations with people like you, Brandi, and share with whomever and what they. Next week I go to speak at Berklee School of Music on the topic, and it's just because I want to remember to do it. I wrote the book to remind myself. This is the stuff you got to be doing. It's my way of breathing, telling myself to breathe. And that's my new little bracelet I had built in there. That's my breathe bracelet. Those are my beads. So I'm doing everything to stay on top of the same things that I profess that I suggest other people might want to do. So it's not splitting the atom. I'm not going to give you it's not going to be some crazy marketing theory. It's going to be nicer. Reinforce that, stay with it, thank people, send personal notes. They go a long way. And don't forget, if you're trying to cut through the digital world today and you really want to micro market and who can buy what you sell, who that person is, that is the person that's the budget authority on that. Don't rely on email. Put together a campaign that includes all forms of media. That would include direct mail, and in our world, lumpy direct mail, because that gets opened. Dimensional pieces. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely, that is one thing is that, I hear people ask all the time, like, what's the one tactic that, you think works? And, email is what we do. But even despite the fact that that's our bread and butter, and we believe that it is at the core of the communication journey, it can't just be email. You really do have to engage people in different ways in order to, yield what you want. And I mean, even thinking about just that human to human interaction, you have the nonverbal, like you talk about, just the smile or, the putting the cocktail napkin down or those sorts of things. That is a form of communication along with the verbal. And so, it's very much the same within marketing as well.
Yeah. Like I said, I think whenever I see these people, when I get an email from somebody that says, excuse me, "Dear Neil P," you know where they got the lead. They scraped it off the link. They scraped it off of LinkedIn. It's like, I'm not responding to you on this.
Right.
I don't even, it's lazy marketing as far as I'm concerned.
So talking about our challenges is just the first step, and nothing changes if nothing changes. And so in traditional therapy, the therapist will give the client some homework, but here at Revenue Rehab, we like to flip that on its head and ask you to give us some homework. So for those that are listening that, have resonated with your journey and the tips that you have shared, what's your one thing? What would be the action that you would give them that they can start doing today?
Okay, so if you're new, you're getting started. If you're prospecting for a new client, if you have an existing business that you want to launch a new product, it's all the same. Develop your process. Put together multimedia, multi-touch, micro marketing campaigns, so that you stick with it for 90 days. Adjust. Nothing is perfect out of the gate. Make your adjustments. but stay with it. And then look back and where you are 90 days from now, you won't believe it. But you have to go through the process. It's not, you can't just like buy a list or do something. You have to do the investigation. Who can buy what I sell? And even if it's a referral, don't think they're going to be sitting there waiting on the phone, waiting for your phone call or email. You have to put them in the process, in my view. And you show them respect by doing that, right? If somebody's referring, okay, so this is just a shoe in. No, I get them in queue and send them the things that you want to send them, whether it's by email or in our world by the by USPS or even UPS, and just be prepared. Make sure that you get tracking on everything, so then you can start making your follow-ups, your phone calls. But you're showing tenacity when you do that. What I mean by that is there's a difference. I believe there's a difference between persistence, which sounds like pest for a reason, and tenacity. Tenacity is where you take a different turn. Where you get creative, where you put some thought into it. I mean, simple things like if you are linked into some, or if you find in their LinkedIn page, or if certainly you'll know what their business is about. Lord knows there's a number of ways for you to find information about the company, information about what's going on, information what's going on in their vertical. I mean, do things like print off an article, highlight the passage that you thought was germane to them, throw a pen in there, put it in a padded envelope, and send it with tracking. Then follow up with a phone call. And if you've got their email, then you've got their email, and just keep that process going. If you know anything about them, you can see a lot about them on LinkedIn. Where did they go to school? Is there something that happened if they went to Iowa? Have you heard of Caitlin Clark? I don't know. I mean, it's like simple things that are just that help move the relationship along, as opposed to, oh boy, here it comes again. Here comes another 40 email. And I look at some of these things now and I go, oh my goodness, you send me 2 emails a day. I mean, who on God's green earth is going to read 2 emails a day from their mother? I mean, it's wild. So I do look at stuff in wonderment and go, and I do say all the time, does this really work? Because, in our world, again, our world is a swag world these days. And we, of course, we're proponents of using swag. And so, but we see all of our 90% of people react to what we send them, not what we email them. So just our little, no double blind study there, Brandi, but it's just anecdotal evidence of our success and our little gig here.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree that direct mail is alive and well and still very much an effective tactic. Well, Neil, I have enjoyed our discussion, but that's our time for today. But before we go, tell our audience, how can they connect with you, and definitely give us the shameless plug for the book.
So you can connect with me at positiveactivity.net. I am Neil, Neil, at positiveactivity.net. And that's where you will find the book, the explanation of the book, because it takes you right to the spot on Amazon where you can grab it, because Amazon's, their search criteria is a little tough these days. It changes so often. So we like to have the link. And so I think the book, I hope, I certainly don't put myself in these people's leagues, but I hope it sits beside somebody's Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think it is the sum total of 37 years of on the road and 10 years behind the stick and people, relationship building, which is really what it's all about.
Well, I love it. We will make sure to link to that. So wherever you are listening or watching this podcast, check the show notes for links to be able to connect with Neil. Well, Neil, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I've learned some things about your journey. I did bartend for a very brief period of time when I was 19, and thinking about some of the things you said, I'm like, there are some of those lessons that I realize have stuck with me throughout my career that I never really related to that experience. So I appreciate you for that.
Oh, you can tell. Well, I can tell when somebody's been in the business. I really can. They're the ones that are helping clean up. They're the ones that are helping serve when you have dinner parties. It's just amazing. They jump in all the time.
Yeah, definitely some really great people in hospitality in my experience. Well, everyone, I hope that you have enjoyed my conversation with Neil. I can't believe we're at the end already. We'll see you next time.
See you, gang.
You've been listening to Revenue Rehab with your host, Brandi Starr. Your session is now over, but the learning has just begun. Join our mailing list and catch up on all our shows at revenuerehab.live. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Revenue Rehab. This concludes this week's session. We'll see you next week.